Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into a really powerful novel called The Secrets of Wilder. It's this incredible story about two brothers who, they start from the exact same point but end up living in completely different universes. And it really makes you ask, what's it all about? What are the paths we choose in our own lives? And this famous line from Robert Frost, it's not just a nice piece of poetry. In this story, it is literally the key that unlocks everything. It perfectly sets up the big question here. What happens when two brothers from the same family choose two radically different roads in life? All right, so let's meet our two brothers who really couldn't be more different. First, you've got John, who the novel calls the dreamer. He's always looking inward to find his truth. And then you have his brother Kurt, the conqueror, who's dead set on bending the entire world to his will. And you can see the difference right away, can't you? John is driven by this deep, spiritual hunger. There's this moment in the book where he sees a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, and he just vows right then and there to find that same kind of transformation for himself. Kurt, on the other hand, his hunger is for money and power, plain and simple. He sees the world as a big game to be won, and his only question is and always will be, what's in it for me? John sums up his whole life's purpose with this one line, which he says to his future wife, Davy. For him, this isn't just some weekend hobby or a phase. No, this is everything. This is the very core of who he is. He literally turns his back on a normal life and a conventional career to chase this inner calling with every fiber of his being. And Kurt's worldview? Well, it's just as clear, but it's a universe away from his brothers. He thinks this right after closing another brutal, cutthroat deal. For Kurt, the dog-eat-dog world of Washington, D.C. isn't some corrupt cesspool. No way! It's his natural habitat. It's a jungle, and he's the apex predator. He absolutely loves it. So let's follow John for a bit, down that path less traveled. His whole journey isn't about gaining territory or money. It's all about inner discovery. And it all kicks off with this one simple but totally profound revelation he gets from a woman he meets down by the sea. This is the practice that changes his entire life. I am meditation. And the idea is actually pretty simple. You know how the phrase I am, when you say it out loud, is just sound, just noise? Well, the practice is to turn that thought inward. It becomes a kind of key, a tool to quiet all the mental chatter and unlock the state of just pure blissful awareness. This one practice becomes the engine for his entire spiritual transformation. And his total dedication to this practice? Well, it leads to some truly incredible results, what the book calls siddhis, or special abilities. I mean, get this, he runs a mile in under 3 minutes and 30 seconds. He moves objects with his mind. He and Davy even walk on water together. And the book presents these things not as magic tricks, but as the natural result of tapping into some kind of fundamental universal energy. Okay, so now let's switch gears and look at Kurt's path. While John was off pursuing inner silence, Kurt was chasing something very different. Noisy, ruthless ambition. His journey was all about conquering the material world. Kurt's climb to the top is just lightning fast and completely cold-blooded. It starts back in college, with whispers of him blackmailing a professor for a better grade. From there, he talks his dad into opening a DC office for the family company, and that's where he really masters the game, securing shady government contracts and building this massive empire on the back of collusive, morally bankrupt deals. And this becomes Kurt's mantra. It's the justification for every dirty trick, for every backroom deal. See, for Kurt, rules aren't moral guardrails. Nah, they're just obstacles. They're puzzles to be solved on his way to the top. You knew it had to happen, right? These two paths, one of inner peace, the other of ruthless conquest, they couldn't just run alongside each other forever. They were on a collision course. And when they finally crash, the consequences for the Wilder family are just absolutely devastating. The breaking point comes in this just explosion of violence. An old enemy shows up and attacks John's pregnant wife, Davy. And in this incredible act of pure self-sacrifice, their mother, Stella, just leaps in front of Davy. She takes the fatal blow that was meant for her daughter-in-law and her unborn grandchild. And right there, in the middle of this awful family tragedy, the two brothers show you exactly who they've become. John is there, holding his mother in her final moments, and he actually sees her pass into this realm of light. He comforts her, saying, "We are in each other always." And Kurt's reaction? He just scoffs at her sacrifice with pure contempt. She was such a coward. I mean, nothing else could show you more clearly what their chosen paths have made of them. So, after all of that, after all the soul searching and all the conquering, where did these two very different roads actually lead? What was the final legacy that each brother left behind? When you look at the final score, the difference in their legacies is just absolute. John builds this amazing spiritual community that's all about empowering people, teaching them that the real teacher is within. And Kurt, his corporate empire, the one he built on fear and intimidation, it all comes crashing down. He ends up in prison for fraud. What John leaves behind is a system that he calls the Open Secrets, these 5 core practices that he discovered on his own journey. And his whole philosophy was that this kind of knowledge belongs to everyone. It has to be shared freely. It shouldn't be hoarded by gurus or kept behind closed doors. And he totally rejects that old spiritual idea of, don't cast your pearls before swine. The idea that you should withhold wisdom from people who are unworthy. He makes his point with a bit of a joke, actually. He tells a huge crowd it's time to stop treating people like pigs. And then he says, "Our time has come, oink oink," basically signaling that this wisdom is now for everybody. So the story of the Wilder brothers really leaves us with 2 totally different definitions of what a successful life can be. Is it the inner power that comes from self-realization? Or is it the outer power of conquering the world? And so the novel turns that original question right back around to us, to you and me. As you go about your own life, which road are you going to choose? And which path for you is going to make all the difference?